Welcome back, everybody. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast for the last time of 2025. I am beat on. That's Gray, the fantasy master Lothario. How you doing over there, Gray?
I think we might do a winter meetings one in 2025. So
That usually happens in 2026, but okay, maybe we have one more
winter
this
meetings?
season.
No, winter meetings happens in December. Where are you at, bro?
And we don't talk about it till January, but that's okay. Gray is committing to doing this before January. Everybody, just know that it's here. It's not me. It's not me.
It's not beat on. It's me. Yeah, cool, man. I'm in 2026 mode right now. Wow. That was a crazy end to what TV show am I watching right now that hasn't finished yet? Wow, what an end to that TV show Task on HBO, huh? Wow. Man, that was insane. Avatar was so good. I don't know.
Did he tell us who won, how many games, and what the run differentials were for definitely not betting purposes?
I was trying to get it so if people were listening to this in January, people would be like, "Oh, wow, they must have just recorded this." Very cool. It didn't work out. Okay, all right, beat on. Let's do this.
Let's do it. If you haven't heard already, it is the top 25 draft. Way too early, obviously. It is October 6th as we're recording this. There is still baseball being played. In fact, we are trying to get this done so Gray can watch. Well, we both will go watch the Dodger game. So let's get into it, Gray. Any general thoughts that you had about 2026 and how it works out in your rankings while you were kind of working on what your list looks like? Were there any thoughts that kind of came to your mind?
No, not special. No, not really. I felt like it felt a little bit like there was a large contingency of either guys who were good last year or guys who I'm like, I'll give him a bye. I'm basically talking about Gunnar Henderson. I'm like, I was basically like, yeah, that guy was good last year, and then there's Gunnar Henderson, who, unfortunately, he's gonna have to be in the 2026 ranking somewhere. I think the big thing that my big takeaway is like, something I sort of mentioned last week that, steals are more or less just like how much a player really wants to steal versus their ability. So taking them with a grain of salt a bit, which, for the longest time, it was like power and speed were the two steady categories, and it was just like, and then runs and RBIs were a matter of where a guy was in the lineup, and average is a lot to do with luck, and it can be fluky. Whereas like now, I feel like it's really only homers are really the only thing you can count on. You can't count on anything. Homers and strikeouts. That's it. Don't count on anything else. That's all. Everything is in disarray going into 2026. I mean, certain guys, I feel like Corbin Carroll really, like, he jumps off the page to me for the in the biggest way, because it's like the fact that him and Josh Naylor basically stole the same amount of bags. It's like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I just kind of I had to push a little bit of that out of my head and be like, yeah, okay, Josh Naylor stole, 30 plus bags or whatever. He stole 30 bags. I just had to pretend like he stole 4 bags and just go from there, because I don't think, it's like I don't think those steals were real, even though they were. So it's just like it's a lot of looking forward. It becomes a lot of like, how much of this is real? I don't know. It's hard to say because you want to be like Corbin Carroll. If he can steal the same bags as Josh Naylor, you would think with his speed he can steal 60 bags then. Like, it's like you could put him down for anywhere from, 30 homers to 20, maybe somewhere between say 24 and 32, say, roughly. Okay, so that's a small little gap. But for steals, it could be anywhere from like 30 steals to 60 steals. That's a huge difference. And I feel like that's being conservative of how a lot of players like Ellie De La Cruz is like that. Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt Jr., Juan Soto just stole, almost stole 40 bags, which is ridiculous. Juan Soto is not fast. Like, I love Juan Soto. He's not a fast guy. He almost stole 40 bags out. So it's like, it's hard to reconcile this where it's like Cal Raleigh, he hit 60 homers, and he also stole a bunch of bags. That it's like how much of I don't know. Steals I feel like are much flukier than they used to be with the pitch clock. So I feel like that was a lot of me looking at guys because early on we're doing the top 20. Early on you want guys who are 5 category performers. So I try and look at guys who can do 30-30 as a baseline. But a baseline of 30-30 is, 30, it could be 30 steals or it could be, 50, 60 steals. So anyway, it was just sort of, that was a thing that I was wrestling with going into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty reasonable to what you're saying. Like exactly what you said. Like Naylor stole a ridiculous amount of bases. Cal Raleigh stole 14. Juan Soto stole 38, Byron Buxton 24. I mean, there's just really weird numbers of steals out there, and it's kind of hard to predict, except for maybe at the top where you can say, like you're saying, like it's 30 plus, but that plus could be 6 or that plus could be another 30. And it's kind of anywhere in between depending on what the team wants, how that player's hitting. Like Corbin Carroll was on base or hitting too many home runs in the first half to steal any bases, and then he stole a bunch in the second half because he wasn't hitting the home runs. Now, which version of Corbin Carroll do we want? Somewhere in the middle would be nice, like a nice 30-40 season, but we'll see where those people land. I will say it felt less clear like when I was making this top 20, and I think I said 25, it's top 20. Sorry for everybody at home that thought we were doing 5 more. But it did seem a little less clear as I was putting it together than previous years where I felt like there was some mix up in like the teens and 20s that you can do. But the top 5, top 10 even felt pretty solidified. Whereas I don't know that it's very solidified other than maybe 1 and 2 for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's kind of like the like what we were saying with or at least I don't know, maybe I was saying it, maybe you were saying it, but or maybe neither of us were saying it and I read it somewhere. But it's kind of like with starting pitching where it's like Skubal and Skeens were clearly top 2. And then I came to respect Crochet as the top 3. So there's 3 there, and then it's like wide open. It becomes like 4. The starter number 4 through starter number 20 is basically like flip a coin, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's guys for sure that are going to be like in the discussion, but it's a lot less clear. And I think for my top 3, I don't think it's really like that much of a mystery with Ohtani, Judge, and Witt. So I feel like it's 3 as well. For the top 20, I feel like there's 3 guys, and then it's like basically, I mean, you could kind of roll the die and just to figure out the 4th through the 20th. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Let's go through it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've already told us who your number 1 pick is. I think we know who number 2 and then apparently number 3 is. So, I mean, let's just talk about those guys. I mean, would you go in any different direction just because Ohtani is DH only? Witt has, I don't know, we all were taking Witt number 1 this year for whatever reason we were thinking. I mean, it's not like he had a bad season. Ohtani's just amazing. And Aaron Judge is also ridiculous. It's just the way that it goes.
Yeah. I mean, who's the first pick? Am I first pick?
With your first pick.
Okay. Yeah. So Ohtani, I would say, I don't think the DH in most leagues, the DH doesn't really bother me. In a few leagues, it does. Like, because I rostered Ohtani this past year, and having in a few leagues I rostered him, and having him in leagues where I had multiple utility slots. I had him in one league like that, and then I had him one league where he was the only one utility slot, and the one utility slot. It hampered things a little bit, right? So there was a bit of, there was a few moments where during the year I would look at waivers and I would be like, well, I don't really have room for that guy because I don't have a utility slot because, Ohtani's going to be my utility guy. And I don't have room for, this guy in whatever he was, like say it was Nick Kurtz. Like if I had, a solid first baseman and corner man, I just didn't have room for Nick Kurtz if I had Ohtani at utility. It's a good problem to have, obviously, but there is a little bit like you do get hamstrung a little bit with Ohtani where you can't always necessarily pick up a guy you want. But with all that said, I mean, he has, he averaged now over the past 2 seasons 54 and a half homers because, 54 homers than 55. I did the math. So that's a lot of homers. That's good. This year, he clearly slowed down on the base paths because of, not just because there's a smaller number in the steals category, but I mean, he hurt himself last year in the postseason stealing a bag. So, I mean, he might have been a little more tentative on the base paths. Still, though, that puts, a guy who's like baseline is, say, I don't know, conservatively, say 48 homers, 20 steals, 280 average with 130 runs and 100 plus RBIs. If that's a guy's baseline, and then you throw in, if you are in a daily league, the fact that, if you want to get crazy with yourself, you could have a top 20 starter. I mean, he's a no-brainer as the first pick in my mind. I don't see a scenario where even if I don't have the benefit of a daily league where I know I'm only getting the hitter version of Ohtani, because in no weekly league will I ever start him as a pitcher. But if I'm only getting him in a weekly league where he's only a hitter, I'm still so happy with the hitting numbers that I have no problem at all drafting him number 1. And I feel like he's so clearly number 1, even though you do get a little bit handcuffed with the utility only thing. And if you're in a daily league and you're able to once a week or however many starts he ends up getting next year, if you're able to move him into your pitching, just, I don't even know how often I would move him in because his hitting is so good. But if you're able to move him in as a pitcher, next year, you're going to have a whole year of him pitching, probably, I want to say they're probably going to give him 100 to 120 innings next year. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, his numbers overall, I don't see any scenario where he's not number 1. I almost want to say he's number 1. And then the next 2 guys are 2A and 2B, because I don't think anyone really touches Ohtani when you're thinking about him, especially in a daily league. I don't think there's any question at all. Aaron Judge, as much as I like Aaron Judge, it's nice to have him as an outfielder, obviously, but I mean his numbers even if you go over the last 2 years, I mean he gives you more in average than Ohtani, but he gives you less in steals. He doesn't pitch at all, obviously. So, for a daily league, it's a no-brainer with Ohtani. And I think also with the power is basically a push between Judge and Ohtani. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't think there's any question at all. Ohtani's number one.
Yeah, and I'm going Judge too. And my counter would be, well, Aaron Judge was worth more on the player rater this year. The one thing I will say for Judge is that he hits, further back in the lineup, which allows him to hit more RBIs. That's kind of a minimal thing, but that's why he ends up having the dollar value that he does on the player rater. Now, Ohtani next year will certainly add pitching to his dollar value, so I agree. It's not even a decision. I would go Ohtani if he was sitting there, but I will go with Aaron Judge and be very happy that I have, the second best player in baseball.
Yeah, definitely. And, arguably the best. I mean, he is Judge is he's not a bad consolation prize if you have the second pick.
He's not. And let me ask you before we move on, we saw Ohtani steal 59. We've seen, different people put up ridiculous stolen base numbers. Juan Soto with 38 this year. We've seen the big Bobby Witt Jr. year where he stole 49. We saw Corbin Carroll steal 54. When we see these big numbers, and I'm not even saying stolen bases, like Cal Raleigh this year with home runs, when we see these big numbers, do we have to expect that they're going to not happen again? Like, obviously, projecting wise, we're not going to project for that kind of number, but projecting and thinking what's going to happen, slightly different, at least in my mind.
Yeah, no, I wonder with Ohtani, he stole 59 bags last year. I do kind of wonder if he didn't get injured, how many steals we would have saw this year, because he was stealing bases pretty easily. But I would imagine, with him pitching now, the steals were going to come down a little bit anyway. Maybe it would have been, more like 25 to 30 steals if he didn't hurt himself. But yeah, so I think Ohtani's number is kind of like it's like he's a little bit of a specific case example with his steals coming down so dramatically, whereas some of these other guys that you mentioned, like Juan Soto, for instance, I was saying this all during September, like he was clearly going for a 40-40 season. He didn't get there, but he was going for it so clearly. Like his steals in August and September were ridiculous. There's no way we're getting anywhere close to that. So actually, now that I say it, I mean, I feel like each case is kind of a case by case basis where it's hard to say across the board, like, oh, Cal Raleigh's not going to hit 60. No, probably not. I mean, right. But I don't think that has anything to do with whether or not Juan Soto is going to steal 38 bags again. I feel like each guy is kind of their own sort of situation, but I do think Juan Soto, I do think his steals are coming down. if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, I think it does to an extent. I hear you're saying it's case by case. I think I'm more in the camp of when those seasons happen. It's a specific set of situations that come together to make that happen, like Juan Soto wanting to get to 40-40. I think Ohtani wanted 50-50 and maybe 55-60. So I think he was going for something specific. Corbin Carroll, when he put up 54, the Diamondbacks weren't that good. He was in his first full season. You don't care about a guy in his first full season like you do after he's the most important player on your team. Same with Bobby Witt. There's a certain set of circumstances that happen where these seasons can occur. So I guess I'm saying to some extent, if there's a guy who's in a first or second year, it's more likely we're going to see those. Or, Juan Soto and Ohtani are just ridiculous. They can kind of just do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that so many of these guys are, I don't think any of them are really going for it in March or April. Well, maybe, going for it. I mean, like going for like a 30-30 season or something, except for, of course, Juan Moncada, who, he's going for it every year. Juan Moncada is going to go 40-40 this year, according to Juan Moncada in March. No, but anyway, what's interesting is like Juan Soto, I don't think was thinking 40-40 until it became a realistic possibility. So it's almost like it's hard to really know, like if Bobby Witt is like, stealing a bunch of bags in like, say, April, May, and he's at like, a 20-40 season in like September, he may be like, oh, I want to get to 50 steals and steal 10 more bags in September. Whereas if he's at like, 30 steals on September 1st, he may be like, oh, I don't care about getting to like 40 steals or something. It's like, I feel like it's almost like it's kind of like of the moment with like some of these guys where I don't really know. I haven't read anything about Juan Soto going for 40-40. That was all just like me guessing, but he really seemed to be stealing a lot. Like you look at his numbers, it's like he was not only stealing a lot in August and September, but he was also getting caught a lot, and not exactly, a bit to the detriment of the Mets. And no one was ever talking about like, hey, Juan Soto is going for like personal stats versus what's good for the team. No, I didn't hear anything about that. I mean, people were just happy he was hitting the ball, I think, hitting homers and, being overall good. I mean, I love Juan Soto, not to take anything away from him, but I do think there is like a certain element of like, it depends on where the player is. Like if Bobby Witt has a great first half, that may push him to have, do something in the second half he wouldn't normally do, versus like, if he struggles or if anyone struggles in the first half, that could change what they're doing in the second half as far as like going for like a goal where like if Bobby Witt's like if Bobby Witt has 35 homers and say 28 steals or something, just on September 1st, he may be like, oh, I want to get a 35, I want to get a 40-40 season or something. Like he may like what he has to start August and September may actually, dictate what he does in those months. That, something that we can't predict here. I mean, it's like, we don't know the future. We don't know what these guys are going to go for. Like with like Cal Raleigh, like if he's sitting on 47 homers on September 1st, he may get to 50, but if he doesn't have like 55 homers in the last week, I don't know if Rob Manfred's giving him the bouncy balls to get to 60, And again, we're just guessing he's getting bouncy balls, but I mean, he was really he was barely hitting the ball and it was going out of the park.
Just flying out the park. It's not like we don't know they have them. We know they're there.
And we know from past reporting that MLB did this with Aaron Judge when he was going for the AL home run record. Like it's on record as saying like they examined the baseballs. Aaron Judge was getting bouncy balls in September of that year. What was it? 2023. He was getting bouncy balls that year. So it's not like this hasn't happened before. Like this is something they do. So I mean, I don't know if Cal Raleigh was getting bouncy balls, but it sure seemed that way. So, again, it's like, you don't know what possible accomplishment these players are going to be going for in September that is going to drive them to get that, like if Bobby Witt is going for like a league record for triples, he may get more triples because he may be going for, it's like, it's hard to know. So I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. Who's your third pick? You've already kind of said
Bobby Witt Jr. And I think as clear cut as Ohtani Judge for 1-2, I think Bobby Witt Jr. is clear cut for number 3. Like this year was a little bit of a step back for him, but it was still at the end of the day. I mean, he still had a top 10 year, and that was like everything going kind of blah for him for a certain stretch of the season where like his power was down and his steals were they were up from last year, but they were down from his career. His average was down from last year. Like he had a down year. Runs and RBIs were down, and he still was top 10. Because at the end of the day, like we always say that it's like if a guy's doing power and speed, it makes things a lot easier to get fantasy value. It's like if a guy's hitting homers and stealing bags, it makes things easier to provide fantasy value. So the fact that he had a down year, I would expect a bounce back, and a bounce back for him is like, he's a top 3 player easily. And if anyone is going to unseat Judge and Ohtani, I would say Bobby Witt Jr. has as good a chance as anyone with what he does. Being able to hit 30 homers and stealing 50 bags and hitting, 310 plus, with pretty neutral luck and stuff. So yeah, I like Bobby Witt Jr. a lot. I would go number 3 for him.
Agreed on everything you said. No need to say anything else. Number 4 it was a tough decision, Gray. It came down to, a handful of guys who all kind of, I felt like they belong there, but they can go in any order. So I'm going to start with, at 4, Corbin Carroll. And the reason being, he's 30-30, did it this year, 259. I feel like he's getting both parts of his game together. He's entering that prime spot of his career at 25 to 28. I just feel like this is a easy bet on 30-30 with upside for, we've seen 54 stolen bases from him. If he continues anything close to the power we saw in the first half, if that's just the profile he decides, it could be 40 home runs and 20 stolen bases instead. Both are really nice lines. There's one person who probably deserved to go number 4, but I'm going with the age and just the prime of their career rather than what they did this season.
Yeah, I like Corbin Carroll. I'm not going to argue it. I'm going to go with pick number 5. I'm going to go with who I think you were probably alluding to, Jose Ramirez. I don't have not a ton to say. I think his numbers speak for themselves. He's a perennial 30-30 guy. Doesn't hit for a bad average, even though I think maybe some people feel like his one downside is maybe average, but he hit 283 last year. He hit 279 the year before, 282 the year before that. He's a 280 hitter. So yeah, 30-30, 280, perennially. It's not like it's Corbin Carroll did it for the first time last year. Jose Ramirez is basically averages it for his career and over the course of 11 seasons. So yeah, Jose Ramirez and third base is a good position to lock up early. So yeah, Jose Ramirez for me.
Yeah, no problem with it at all. Like I said, I'm just going with the upside and age of Carroll versus the amazing consistency we have seen from Jose Ramirez, who is awesome. Number 6, I don't think we're getting the steals back, but I'm going to take Juan Soto. Just feels a very safe 40, 270, 120, 110, just put in the bank and enjoy it. And the steals, maybe they're there, maybe they're not.
I think that's fair. I feel like Juan Soto is probably the easiest.
He feels the safest of the group that's coming. He's the one I can point to, be like, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what he's going to do, or at least some semblance of what he's going to do. Whereas the rest of this list could be all over the place.
Yeah, no, totally. I think, the guy, so I'm going to go with, for my 7th pick, I'm going to say Elly De La Cruz. So, talking about being all over the place, his stats are all over the place, even though they're relatively similar year over year. At least as far as his average, he had 259, then 264. His power was 25 homers. The last year or this year it was 22 homers. So those two are pretty similar. His steals were way down this year. From 67 steals to 37. So that goes back to what I was saying, earlier in the show when I was saying steals have become so unpredictable with the pitch clock. It's hard to know what you're going to get. But I will say for Elly De La Cruz, I will assume you can get 60 steals. Now, whether you get 60 steals, I don't know about that. But even if you don't, say you get 40 steals. This year was 37. Say it's 40. So his 22 homers this year was that was basically having nothing in the second half. It was all first half more or less. He hit 4 homers in the second half this year, and 236. He played every day. He played 162 games. So, that's good for runs and RBIs. He hit 264. So while he did have a bad second half in average, but he still had a good enough average overall that it didn't really kill you. Over 162 games. That's still decent. 264. The power and the speed are really the only question marks. The park is good. He obviously can hit a ton of homers. I feel like we have not even scratched the surface of how good of a season we can get from Elly. So I feel like I'm not gonna project him for it. But if there's anyone who can go 40-40, 270, it's gonna be Elly De La Cruz. And that's gonna be top 3 overall fantasy type numbers. I would assume his projections probably, I'm going to guess right now that his projections are going to fall around 25 homers, 40 steals, 260. It's not bad. I'll take it at pick number 7.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. It's a little bit of a risk just given what he did in the second half, but as you mentioned, very talented. The strikeout rate came down, which was always the issue. You're just like, oh, it's going to bottom out sometime because he just strikes out too much. That actually got better this year, even though his numbers went down. And I know Gray doesn't listen to me, but if you were listening to me earlier, I do think the 67 was, Elly being young, not as valuable at the time, and the Reds being really bad, and they just let him run. I don't think I'm projecting 60 for him, but he could definitely steal 40 plus. And that's like him, Corbin Carroll. They can steal as many as they want or as the team allows them to. It just depends on what that looks like, depending on their seasons and the organization.
Yeah, I agreed. I think that's a good point. I do listen to you, B Don.
Occasionally.
I do. I hear your point, and I agree with it. I think there is a certain element to I think what you're saying is they are the linchpins of their teams, and steals are a good way to get hurt. And a team probably doesn't want their main offensive weapon to get hurt, so they're going to be maybe you don't steal 60 plus bags, maybe more like 35.
Yeah, take the easy ones. Don't just steal because you're on first base every single time.
Right.
All right, next up, Gray. I'm going with a player that I really hope returns to his current team, and that is Kyle Tucker. Again, there's kind of a group of players that can go. Kyle Tucker feels the safest, and I don't think he's coming back to Wrigley, unfortunately, but that will help his fantasy value because the home runs will probably go up.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think I probably had him a little bit lower than this, but it's not, it's not crazy. I feel like my big problem with Kyle Tucker is just where is he going to be? And Like, what lineup is it going to be? Can the Rockies sign him, please? That would be awesome. At least it would be awesome in theory. And then they'll get to April and he'll have like a recurring back issue and never play again.
That's what we should have led the show off with, Gray, is Kyle Tucker going to the Rockies, not some random news.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, welcome back to the winter. I just got back from the winter meetings, and I'm happy to report Kyle Tucker just signed with the Rockies. Yeah, no, Kyle Tucker's. He's so good that as long as he's healthy, and I think he's young enough where I like Kyle Tucker still. I don't think his best days are behind him. Even though he did have a little bit of iffy past 2 seasons because of injuries. Anyway, for my pick, I'm going with another guy who's a perennial 30-30 guy, even though he's only done it twice, but that's 2 times out of 4 seasons. I'm going to go Julio Rodriguez. So hopefully Julio Rodriguez shows up in the first half of the season. I'm hoping the Mariners. By the time you listen to this in January, you'll know whether or not the Mariners went deep into the offseason or deep into the postseason. I think Julio Rodriguez really is like. I mean, I feel like he's a 30-30 guy. And not even playing until June. So that's, that in some ways that's like, oh God, that's, that feels like a drain a bit to take in the first round. But if you think about the fact that a guy is a top 10 guy, this year he was 11th on the player rater. So if you think about a guy who's like 11th on the player rater, who doesn't show up until June, that's pretty good considering, like Ellie, I took Ellie before in my last pick. I took Ellie. He stopped showing up in July. Julio shows up in July. So, trade one for the other. No, I think J-Rod is, as safe as you can say a 30-30 guy is. And he's another one where, like, if Juan Soto can steal 38 bags, Julio Rodriguez could steal 50. It's like not even a question. Will he? No, probably not. Again, going back to what Beadon said that he thinks I don't listen to, J-Rod is more or less the centerpiece to the I know they have Cal Raleigh, but J-Rod is really like he's their centerpiece, and he's their he's one of their stars, I guess, with Cal Raleigh, but we'll see where that goes with Cal Raleigh. So J-Rod is not going to be a guy that they're going to send every single time or want to run that much. But, even with all that said, he's easy 30 homer power, 30 steal speed. He hits, he's hit 274 for his career. So he's not a drain on average. I think, a 40-40 season, definitely. Like if he shows up in April and May, he could easily go 40-40, 300. So yeah, I'm a fan, and I'm taking J-Rod.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. It's basically the same numbers as I would say for Tucker, except you get it over a full season rather than 3 months. I don't know if that's better or worse, but it eventually comes out to the same. And you're right, J-Rod does have 40-40 upside. There's no question about that. Somebody that has 40-70 upside, Gray, is who I'm going to go with next, and that is Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't think we're seeing 40-70 ever again from him, but I'm going to go with Ronald Acuna Jr. I completely understand it was not what we wanted to see completely from him, but in a injury return season, he hit 290, 21-9 in 95 games. Fully expect him to come back next year and be at least the power hitter we are used to. And I expect at least some of the steals come back. I don't ever expect him, I guess he said, to be a 70 or even a 30, necessarily 30 home run guy or stolen base guy, but 40, 20, 280, that's perfectly fine.
I just realized if you combine his previous season and this season, he went 25-25. I mean, I don't know that, and $1 is not getting you a carton of milk. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, it's something, I guess. I like Ronald Acuna Jr. a lot too. I feel like that's around where he's going to go, I would think.
I don't know how he goes much later. There's a few people you could definitely take above him, but
yeah, I mean,
I don't know how he drops much further.
I mean, he's probably in that 10 to 20 range, though. I mean, I could see him going 20-ish, 20, maybe 22-ish. 10 feels like on the high side, but not crazy. I think it's like a matter of like we don't draft pitching at all. So I mean, there is that in some mock drafts, the actual pitchers might have been drafted already, but yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that nonsense. So anyway, okay. So my pick at number 11, I'm gonna take. I think he actually. I want to say did he go up this year? Yeah, I want to say he went a little bit later than this spot last year. But not that much later, but in the top 20. Anyway, mystery solved. Jackson Churio is who I'm going with at number 11. I think he went around like 19 or 20 last year. Anyway, strikeouts down a little bit. Average is, he's a 275 hitter. Again, he went 21-21 this year, but it was only in 131 games because he had, I believe he had hamstring issue, which he's actually dealing with, I think, in the postseason. But yeah, I mean, if he gets injured again this year, in 2026, if he gets injured and he only plays 130 games, at that point, next year at this time, we may have to start thinking of him as a 130 game season guy. But for now, I'm still thinking of him as a guy who can go for 150 games and go 30-30 and 270. I mean, he's 21 years old. He doesn't turn 22 until March of next year. So I feel like, again, the sky's kind of the limit here. I see, the worst case scenario is you get another 2020 season of 275 with 90 runs and 80 RBIs. And it's in 130 games again, because he shows himself to be actually injury prone and not just have fluky injuries, that he actually has a recurring injury thing. But that, I feel like the upside alone is worth grabbing him at some point around here in the draft, where, because your upside is basically, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit here. I mean, he can go, I could see him going 40-30. I could see him going 30-30. I could see him going 30-40. I mean, I feel like you really have just scratched the surface of how good Jackson Churio can be. And, I like that at 11 overall. So yeah, I'm taking Jackson Churio.
Yeah, there's like a 7-person tier here where I just kind of separated them as I needed to, and he's definitely in that tier. I do have him a little bit lower, but there's no problem with it. I love Jackson Churio. I am going to go with the number 12 pick with Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, 30-30, I feel like there's still upside. He's 26 years old. The strikeouts came down this year. He had the best walk rate he's ever had. He still hits the ball just as hard as he ever has. I love Fernando Tatis Jr. And he played a full season this year, which is the one knock on him, was when are we going to get 150 games out of him? And we finally got it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see. I think Fernando Tatis Jr. for me is like, I mean, I think he was also around like between 9 and 13 last year. And I don't think he really did anything either way to really change his ADP. Like he was he was relatively like he definitely, I mean, he sort of cooled off power wise, but he still finished 27th on the player rater. And that's including pitchers who we're not including. No, but I'm saying though, like he was still like 27 on the player rater, and he, probably he cooled off a little bit with the power in the second half, and he was a little bit like, a little bit less than what you were expecting, maybe, but still because of power, speed, hitting 25 homers and stealing 32 bags and hitting 268. I mean, it's so you can only be so bad if you're going 25-32 in fantasy baseball in a 5x5 format. I mean, 25-32, it's like, okay, that's, especially, I mean, he played 155 games. So there was none of that nonsense of like, oh, he can't play a full season. He played a full season. He had 111 runs, 71 RBIs. I mean, he did everything you really wanted, except maybe a little bit. Like, it would have been nice if he went 30-30, but 25-32 is not bad. So yeah, no, I think he was either my next pick or, what he would have been up there for sure with at some point. So yeah, I like the pick. Okay, so pick number 13 for me. There's a bunch of, I'll be honest, there's a bunch of boring picks. There's quite a few. I'm not going to do them because I love my audience so much. I'm not going to do boring.
I feel like there's like three guys I assume you're going with here. I don't know which one, but it's one of three. Yeah. You're not going with, I know who you're not going with, so I know it's one of three guys left here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people would consider him boring. I don't know. I again, it's like 30-30 rules the day, right? So if you're going 30-30, you can only be so bad. And now we're looking at what? 1, 2, 3, almost 3 seasons in a row where he's gone 30-30. In 2024, he went 33-29. So he just missed 30-30. And it's Juan Soto's teammate, Francisco Lindor. He's a career 273 hitter, 30-30 every year. He plays nearly every game, if not every game. So you're looking at, roughly 110 runs, 85-ish RBIs, 30 homers, 30 steals, 270 average. I mean, it's like, I don't know, maybe he's so good it's become boring, but on the player rater this year, he was he was 9th overall on the player rater this year. So yeah, I mean, he was great. Again, he's just he is actually, by, I think, me taking Lindor at 13, he's actually underrated, even though I'm saying he's underrated. I mean, even though I am underrating him even as I pick him at 13. And that's like, that's saying something. Like, I did not, I didn't draft Kyle Tucker, but there's a case to be made. Lindor is better than Tucker. I would say, Lindor or Acuna. I mean, it's like, I love Ronald Acuna.
Or Ellie De La Cruz.
I love him. I think, it's hard to say why Lindor is, always sort of underrated, even though he's so consistently good. But I don't know. I like him though. I'm taking Lindor there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good pick when you take Lindor. He just does his thing every season. I had him in this group as well. It's just I feel like everybody we've talked about, everybody sees that they can do more than 30-30, or at least you have visions of it. Whereas I feel like people just take Lindor and like 30-30, 250, 260, whatever. That's still amazing. Like it's nothing to turn your nose up at. And he should have gone. He probably should have gone like right after Juan Soto or Jose Ramirez or in that group rather than back here in this group. But this is where we both have him. So this is where he goes. And part of the reason he's back here is because you can get him in later. Like I got him in the second round in drafts, Gray, and people are like, why are you taking Lindor? I'm like, because he's good. I don't understand the question. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction of we talked about it up top. We just love him, and I'm just going to draft him and hope for the best. And that is Gunnar Henderson. He has the possibility of going 40-30. He has the possibility of going 17-30 like he did this season, or 28-10 in his rookie season. All aren't that bad. And there's just so much upside if he's finally healthy, Gray. We thought we were going to get it this season. He got injured, obviously. So I'm still expecting it to happen, though.
Yeah, I mean, he really burnt me bad.
Yeah, he burned a lot of us. A lot of people really loved Gunnar Henderson, and he hurt, but he still hit the ball really, really hard, even though the power numbers came down. So I'm fully expecting to come back after a full season of recovery, especially at his age.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be in on Gunnar Henderson again as well.
Obviously.
Yeah, and it's gonna be even especially frustrating when he has another terrible season. It's gonna be really, really like, I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I am a moron. I'll be there though, man. Gunnar Henderson, for me, I feel like Gunnar Henderson is gonna be like Russian roulette, where it's like I'm gonna want to draft him at some point in the second round, and it's gonna be like, do I pull the trigger here, or do I wait like another spot or two? Like it's gonna be hard because it's gonna be like, I want him, but I also don't want to draft him. So it's gonna be a little bit like a waiting game where it's like, oh, this is like I think this is a good spot for him, even though, like, really, I mean, even in a terrible season last year, he went 17-30, 274. If he just bounces back a little bit in the power, the fact that the Orioles brought in their fences too is so hilarious. But if he just bounces back to like 27 homers and steals again like he did, it's like it's basically Lindor. I also like the fact that like what we were saying earlier with the when a guy is approaching like an accomplishment, like I really do think that there is something to the fact that like Gunnar Henderson ended up stealing 30 bags because he was close to that number. Like if he would have been close to like 40 bags, he would have stole that, or I don't know. I just feel like there is something to it that it's like, oh, I'm at 27 steals. Like, oh, I'm going to steal 3 more just so it's a round number. Whereas like if he was at 30 steals, I don't know if he would have, stole those last 3 bags in the final week, or not. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to that. But yeah, I like Gunnar Henderson there. I'm fine with the pick. Okay, so so I'm between a couple guys here. I'm not between any pitchers.
There's still at least a handful of picks away for both of us, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm not in that range. I'm not looking at pitchers, but I am looking at guys. I think I'm gonna this might be a little bit of a shocker, but I think I'm gonna go with Nick Kurtz. Because I feel like we're at that point where it's like, who's the first baseman, the top first baseman off the board? I think I'm going with Nick Kurtz because like in 117 games last year, he hit 36 homers, 90 runs, 86 RBIs, hit 290, little bit high on the BABIP, but it's the stadium. So the stadium he plays in is going to help with BABIP, and he's going to hit for a decent average, even though the Ks were a little high. So it's basically like, who's the first baseman off the board? I was looking at Vlad. I was looking at Pete Alonso. I think it's Nick Kurtz for me, and I think at 15 overall, I mean, it feels aggressive. But I also think I'll never have the 15. I will never have Nick Kurtz at 15 because what I'm imagining will happen is, at pick 9 or something, someone is going to take Skubal. At pick 10, someone's going to take Skeens. At pick 11, someone's going to take Crochet. I'm going to be at pick 18 or 19, and that's where I'm going to be looking at with Nick Kurtz. So I don't think I'm ever really taking Nick Kurtz at 15. But I will draft him in this exercise at 15 because I do think the sky is absolutely the limit. Like, I feel like his baseline right now for me, his projections, if I had to guess, they're probably going to be like 95 runs, 45 homers, 105 RBIs, and say 275-ish, like somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit higher on average, but somewhere in there. And that is like, where people, and maybe 3 steals, whatever. But that is kind of like, where last year people were taking Vlad Jr. with a lot less expectations than that at pick 12. So I'm happy taking Nick Kurtz here. I've talked myself into it. Nick Kurtz for president. Let's go, man. I'm going. Nick Kurtz, baby.
I mean, he's gonna go early. There's gonna be some helium on him for sure because he was amazing, obviously. And Gray, if this were a real draft, there's somebody I would take. But I know for a fact that you're not going to take him. So I'm just going to let him drop to me. And so I'm going to go with somebody else instead. We all know exactly who I'm talking about. It's not a surprise to anybody about who I'm going to eventually take in this draft. But as of right now, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go... So now I'm between 2 people because I already had who I was going to take. But again, I can wait. I know you're not going to take him.
Did you have Nick Kurtz in your top 20?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm going to take
another. This is hard. Sorry, not to interrupt, but this is like 15 to 20 is hard, man. I have like a bunch of guys where I've like, not to, step on what you're going to say, but like I have like Vlad Jr. I got Pete Alonso. I got Ketel Marte. I got Jazz, Machado, Trey Turner, like a lot of guys who are like, I mean, kind of okay. I mean, kind of boring, but not all of them are boring. Like, Jazz is a little bit exciting going into his contract year, but Vlad and Pete are like, yeah. And I know I ignored the person who you're gonna say. I didn't even mention them because I know you want to reveal them yourself, but
I'll take him at 20 because he's not on your list. I know he's not on your list. I know, so I'm just taking him at 20.
Not on my list. But yeah, anyway, there's a bunch of guys here who are valuable and will be picked in this area, but they are kind of boring. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. My boring pick in this area is a 45 home run, 7 stolen base, 93, 110, 264 hitter who plays the worst position in fantasy baseball, and that is Junior Caminero. Happy to have Junior Caminero take third base at 16. I mean, I feel like he goes right after Kurtz probably. Just this is what's going to happen. Kurtz will go, and then Caminero will go.
I'm gonna take Kyle Schwarber.
No, you're not. Don't even lie. You don't even want him.
No, I'm taking him because that's who you're waiting for at 20.
I just wanted to make sure he got drafted, Gray. He deserves to get drafted.
I'm taking Kyle Schwarber at 17. I like Kyle Schwarber so much. I was going to take him at 5, actually. I was going to take him, even though 5 wasn't, I was going to take him at 4, and 4 wasn't even my pick. I was like, 4, no, that's not my pick. 5, I kind of want Jose Ramirez. 7, I kind of want Ellie. 9, I kind of want J-Rod. And I kept going back and forth, and eventually I'm like, you know what? Kyle Schwarber. I am stealing your 20th pick. Sorry.
Yep, he's gone. That's okay, because I'm actually going to steal who I think you would have taken had I not said anything, and that is James Wood.
I'll take James. No, seriously, put him back in.
You want to swap? You want to make a trade right here? First top 20 trade ever made.
First ever mock draft trade. Was a first ever mock draft trade was executed by Gray Albright and B-Dot. James Wood is awesome too, man. I love James Wood. I feel like he's gonna be underdrafted too, because like he had a miserable second half. And he still ended up good because he's still so good. I mean, God damn. If I can get who potentially, because I feel like Wood is going to go. I think Wood's going to go a little bit later than this. So I think if I could get like Ellie and then turn around and get James Wood. Oh my God, I'm literally saying that I'm saying what I already had this year. I'm living the same nightmare over and over again. Forget it. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say about James Wood.
No, I was just gonna say he kind of fits the narrative that we were talking about before, where he's gonna be in his second full season. The Nationals are terrible. They will let anybody run who wants to run, and he's way faster than Josh Naylor. Like, why couldn't he do a 30-30 season if he wants to, Gray?
Yeah, easily. And also, I think unlike, well, I mean, maybe that's what you're saying, but I think unlike the Ellies and the Corbin Carrolls, it's like the Nationals are really like they don't have anything going for them. So
stolen bases are the highlight of the game in Washington. You have to have them. There's got to be some kind of like free meal deal when they get 3 of them in a game. There has to be, because that's the only thing they can do.
Exactly. It's like all they have is steals. They are so sad. Oh man, yeah. So I think what you're saying is for Ellie and Corbin Carroll is exactly right, and I think it's in the absolute. It's in like the direct inverse for James Wood, where because he has nothing else going on for him, he really could. He could be like that. Like that insane. Like. That what Juan Soto was doing going for 40-40, I feel like was a detriment to the Mets. But James Wood can do that as a detriment to no one. Like, whatever. We don't care.
The fans will love it. They'll absolutely love it. Even if he gets thrown out, it'll still be fun. They get to yell at the ref.
I feel like the ownership would love it because it'd bring people to the stadium. They'd be like, hey, this guy's going 40-40. Go for it, man. Go for it. We don't care. Okay, so at pick 19, I'm gonna take Tariq Skubal because I feel like we have to take at least one star. I think like I said last year, I believe I said last year that Paul Skeens was the number one starter for me last year, going into last year. I think Tariq Skubal has earned that, because I think we've seen that even with Paul Skeens, as good as he is, and he is so good. Like, I'm not going to take anything away from Paul Skeens. He is probably pound for pound one of the best pitchers we've ever seen to start a career. So he is doing exactly like everything you can imagine you'd want to be done, but he can't score runs for his team. Unfortunately, the Pirates are terrible. Like, they're so egregiously bad. So I think Skubal, even though the Tigers didn't give him a ton of wins, he only won 13 games last year. But I feel like projections probably will put him around like I want to say 17 wins, and he has an outside chance for 20 wins, which no one's going to do anymore. And he's basically a 2.3 ERA pitcher with 235 plus Ks. This is Scooble, that is. And as good as Skeens is, and he is so good, he's never going to approach 20 wins. He's never going to get projected for 17, like I'm saying with Scooble. And even though everything else will be a little bit better for Skeens because he is a little bit better in every other category, the fact that he just had a career, actually, he has a career now of 1.96 ERA in 320 innings, and he only has 21 wins. I mean, it's ludicrous. This is so stupid. I mean, it's really dumb. The fact that if he stays with the Pirates, Paul Skeens could potentially, Paul Skeens is basically on pace for 50 wins in his career. And he has a under 2 ERA. So, I mean, as much as I love Paul Skeens, and he would be the second pitcher he will be the second pitcher off the board for me once my pitcher rankings come out. But I think, and if you're listening to this in December, the rankings should be out on Patreon. But anyway, Scooble is going to be the number one pitcher for me, just simply because he could potentially win, anywhere from 5 to 7 more games. And that makes a difference when everything else is, relatively the same in every other category. So, yeah, I'm going Scooble.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not going to take another pitcher just because we've made our point about pitchers, and that would be boring to take another one. But I'm going to say right now, I think I might have Crochet above Skeens next year, and there's an argument that he should be the number one pitcher simply because of the 3 organizations. I count on his organization to win him some games, whereas I don't know that I would necessarily count on that from the other 2. Even in a good year for the Tigers, it's in an amazing year for Scooble. It's not like he was just running away with wins left and right. He was absolutely amazing, Gray, and he got 13 wins. It's a definite concern. I hate to go off of wins because it's a stupid stat. I've always said you shouldn't go off of wins, but at some point you just got to kind of look at the facts.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, the player rater shows Crochet was the top pitcher this year, above Scooble and Skeens. So there is a case to be made for Crochet. I do think, I think you probably agree too. It's basically Scooble, Crochet, Skeens, and then everyone else.
Yes, there's nobody else. Zach Wheeler would have been in that discussion had he not.
Yeah.
But he did, so he's no longer in that. And so with that, Gray, I will wrap up our 2026 draft here with the 20th pick, which is not going to be a boring pitcher here. I'm going to go with you've talked me into him through our kind of end of season discussions, career or contract year. He went 30-30 this season. How bad can you be if you go 30-30, Gray? Yeah. And that is Jazz Chisholm Jr.
I like it. I think, he's going to be definitely in my he's going to be in discussion for me for top 20, I think, too. I like him because it's I mentioned a bunch of guys earlier that I think are probably in discussion to be in there. It's, adding to Vlad, I said Trey Turner, Kettle Marte, Pete Alonso,
Cal Raleigh, potentially. He's going to be there for other people.
Yeah, Machado, Cal Raleigh.
Your boy Devers. Your actual boy Jordan, I'm not going to say he's going to be there because of the injury. He's not going to be drafted like that.
No.
But other than the injury, he completely deserves to be there.
I could totally see potentially coming out of a draft with Ellie. I'm doing it all. I'm just basically repeating this.
You're a season early, Gray. You were just a season early.
I'm doing it again, man. I'm going to do Ellie Wood Jordan.
Maybe some Gunner shares in there too, just to mix it up.
They're gonna be so bad, awful again, and it's gonna be like, I might do it again in 2027.
It may happen again because they're really talented people.
Oh man, yeah, no, I think I like Jazz Chisholm Jr. There at 20. I think also someone neither of us had mentioned. I thought you might was Pete Crow Armstrong. I thought he might be in. You didn't consider him?
I had him on my list, but he was not top 20. Just the way that the second half went, it feels like he's going to have to make an adjustment back to get to what we saw in the first half. And, if I'm just being honest with myself, like the exit numbers and the hard hit has never been like elite. So those are typically the guys that, they kind of Colorado outfield us. I swear to God, if he does that to me, I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's kind of what happens is like big season. They got hot. The numbers weren't elite to begin with. And they kind of dropped back to they're good, but not near where we were drafting them. That being said, I will still probably own plenty of shares of Pete Crow Armstrong because I don't think that's necessarily him. But that's me talking myself into it to some extent. Yeah,
no, that's fair. I wouldn't take Pete Crow Armstrong in the top.
Yeah, 20. I just think it's a bunch of like the bats we always see at the second round. Left. It's like Alonso, Machado, Devers, Trey Turner just seems to just find his way to value every single year. And then of course all the pitchers we didn't mention, and there'll probably be a reliever depending on what league we're in like the next 10 picks.
Yeah, no, completely. They'll definitely, depending on the format too. I could see potentially someone taking a pitcher. Probably not Emmanuel Clase though. Unless
I'm imagining it's Edwin Diaz for next season as a clear-cut one, right?
Unless MLB's report comes back a lot different than I expected.
Yeah, remember when we were looking at Class A, we're like, everything looks good. He just gets lit up on occasion. Like, I think you should just get him.
Yeah. I wonder why when the over under is within 1, he always gives up a home run. Curious.
Very odd. Very, very strange, especially since the stuff looks so good still, Gray. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. It's oh wow, look at that. He's a 0-2 count. He looks so good, and then he just spiked the ball 3 feet in front of the plate. Curious. I wonder why.
Next year's closer is going to be fun, Gray. It's going to be a fun one to try and rank.
I agree. I say we get together again in December for winter meetings. Come on, Bedon.
Sounds good. We'll
clear it.
Done. We're doing it in December, Gray. It's going to happen.
Okay.
We'll be back in 2025. If you want to ask us anything between then, or just randomly shout something at us angrily, you can find us on Twitter at Razzball, at Razzball for Gray. You can find us on youtube.com/Razzball Fantasy. Check out all the great football content. If you have Start Sit, there's the Sunday live show, which I will occasionally be on as well. So you can jump on there. And you can always go to Razzball.com and throw stuff in the comments. Gray will continue to write. If you want to find me, come find me on football or on one of the other sites. Until next year, Gray, see you. And talk to you later, buddy.
Late.